Seven Deadly Sins, Naruto Shippuden, My Hero Academia. What do all these have in common? Clearly, they are all huge, popular shonen anime that have defined the modern generation. So, when one looks back on Dragon Ball Z, it may seem a little outdated and clunky. Or, even worse, you'll hear the argument that, well, it was good for its time, but narratively speaking, it doesn't match more modern shonen anime. I'm Cody Cyberpunk of the Nerd's Opinion, and I'm here to tell you why Dragon Ball Z is better than you think.
Now, I'd like to start off by telling you a joke about Dragon Ball, but that would take 3 episodes, and then I'd have to scream the punchline. See, jokes like these, albeit funny, are the reason there are so many common misconceptions about Dragon Ball among the more hardened, I guess, members of the anime community. The self-proclaimed purists, hipsters, or the younger audiences that have this impression that Dragon Ball Z is nothing but ripped dudes yelling and fighting for way too long. And I guess that's a fair judgment call at first glance, but other fair judgment calls at first glance are things like Kingdom Hearts is just Disney cashing in on weebs, and How I Met Your Mother just took the best part about Friends and added Neil Patrick Harris. Both are true statements on the surface, but it honestly sounds foolish to anybody who has knowledge of Kingdom Hearts or How I Met Your Mother. Oh, and as a side note, How I Met Your Mother, while it may have just taken the best parts of Friends and added Neil Patrick Harris, well, Friends just took the best part about Seinfeld and added Matthew Perry. Anyway, for most of this, I'm going to be focusing on the Western release of Dragon Ball Z that debuted here in America in the 90s. But first we have to ask ourselves, what makes a good shonen anime? You know, what keeps us coming back week after week to continue watching these awe-inspiring adventures? Well, if you watch Naruto or One Piece, or nearly any other popular shonen, there's a lot of really similar themes that we can look at. From similar archetypal main characters to the growth of other important supporting characters throughout training, trials, and tribulations alongside that main character. And the way they seem to bounce from lighthearted adventure to serious action and then back seamlessly if done right. Now that last one's a big deal and can be found all over. I mean, aside from the aforementioned titles, we have shows like Assassination Classroom and One Punch Man doing this. So why is Dragon Ball Z so unique, especially for an anime that seems so mindless at first glance? Well, unlike many of the aforementioned titles, it can do all of this simultaneously without a faux sense of being deep. And at least for me, that's the beauty of Dragon Ball. It meets all the requirements for being overtly philosophical without the obvious pandering of forced philosophy. Looking at you, Death Note. But that's going to bring me to my first point, which is philosophy. Now, you might be asking what I mean by philosophy, and I don't mean some college textbook study of the nature of knowledge. You fuck out of here with that. You can't get a job just because you understand how to study knowing things. But it is still more useful than a liberal arts degree. Anyway, what I mean is the theory or attitude held by a person or organization that acts as a guiding principle for their behavior. Now, Dragon Ball Z is filled with colorful characters and their own unique philosophies, and even some that change over the course of the show. They make you really think about the way that you live your life in a way that you understood as a kid but questioned as an adult. And that's good, because you should question actions throughout your life, both your actions, the actions of others. It just helps you grow and develop as a person. Now, as a child, I marveled at how strong and heroic Goku was. He was always doing the right thing, and when he got knocked down, he got back up. On the flip side, as a kid, I was not a Piccolo fan. I know that sounds blasphemous. I know a lot of you love Piccolo. I didn't like Piccolo. In my head as a 6-year-old, why would he train Gohan by hurting him and scaring him? And he's a big meanie. I want Goku to come back because he's Gohan's daddy. That's the thought process you have as a 6-year-old. As you get older, you probably really love and respected the dichotomy between Gohan and Piccolo, much like I do now. Also probably understood Piccolo's motivations better. Or we can take another character, Krillin. I don't know about you, I grew up thinking Krillin was weak. You know, he's just a funny guy, a comic relief character. He's the Kevin Hart to Goku's Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which I swear would be an excellent fucking movie. Get on it, Hollywood. Point is, as an adult, you realize that while he might be physically the weakest, he's standing there next to his best friends, willing to die, which he does. A lot. But he does it without an ounce of selfishness or envy in him that he doesn't have the power that the others have. You know, if you look at Carl Jung's archetypes, Goku would easily be the hero, although I do think there's a good case to be made for him being the innocent, but that's neither here nor there. So Krillin would be the caregiver, and Piccolo would be the ruler archetype, strangely enough. But let's focus in on Piccolo for a moment, because there's something about him that is different. And that's, by the middle of the series, he is not the ruler anymore. In fact, his archetype changes completely from the time he arrives on Namek during the Frieza saga. He has gone from the ruler archetype to the explorer archetype. And this isn't a case of poor writing or just using a character as a tool to fit the narrative. Piccolo went the stages of fundamentally changing who he is as a character in the time from kidnapping Gohan to sacrificing himself for someone he loved to visiting his home planet and connecting with his roots and his people to finally eventually being whole again after fusing with Kami to take on Cell. So we didn't understand these concepts as kids, but what we did understand is that even though all these characters were so different and weird and crazy, they all worked together really well. You know, you watch the same scenes as a 6-year-old and then again as a 26-year-old, it's going to elicit a different emotional response because you've grown and changed, just like the characters grow and change over the course of the show. Something we see so clearly in just the Piccolo example. There's tons of others. But Cody, Naruto and Bleach do that too, I can hear you all saying, and no! First of all, you can talk to me about Bleach when you remember that it was called Yu Yu Hakusho first. As for Naruto, yeah, it does it, but it doesn't do it well. Boruto as a character has, shown more growth and character development in under 100 episodes than Naruto ever did in over 500. Now, that's actually an unfair example in comparison, because Goku is easily the least developed character in the anime. Which, showing that I'm not biased, because Goku is my favorite anime character of all time, I can still admit he's not a developed character. And that's fine. So, since that's an unfair example, let's compare archetypal supporting cast and how Dragon Ball actually did it better than Naruto, despite a less complicated surface-level plot. Sasuke and Vegeta. So it's no doubt that if you came for Naruto and Goku, Sasuke and Vegeta are the reason you stayed. The yin-yang antithesis of our orange spiky-haired heroes. They seem so similar, and they're so different. Yeah, they're both survivors, Vegeta being one of the last two Saiyans, Sasuke one of the last two Uchihas, until both shows ruin it by continuously adding other survivors. Anyway, how they handle being survivors is different from the very beginning. Vegeta's proud and entitled and egotistical, and Sasuke's quiet and cold and aloof. Now this is good. We don't want our characters to be carbon cutouts of one another. But where Vegeta starts off this way, his character development is a slow burn and is one of the main side arcs of the entire Dragon Ball Z story. Honestly, even carrying over into Super. He goes from evil to neutral to an anti-hero to full-fledged hero over the course of nearly 300 episodes. Sasuke, on the other hand, doesn't change that much, and when he does, it's inconsistent to his established character just for the sake of maintaining that rivalry writing trope that he had going with Naruto. Examples of that are like when Sasuke showed up and wanted to become Hokage. Now, granted, his version of Hokage was twisted and deformed compared to what we think of when we think of Hokage, but something like this still contradicts everything about his character that's been set up to that point. And honestly, Kiba mentioned becoming Hokage before. It would make sense for Kiba to bring that up later. Sasuke has never mentioned it. It's just so strange that idea seemed to come out of nowhere, and it was really just to rile up fans and give them another reason to be excited about the rivalry between Naruto and Sasuke. Now, if that's not inconsistent enough for you, how about his whole character was being designed to be the logical counterbalance to Naruto being the fool? But he agrees with Madara's war even after learning the truth about Itachi and the Uchihas. Well, that is not logic. Logic would say to side with your brother and realize that you were wrong. But no, he goes an illogical route, sides with Madara, and at the end of the day, that's just bad writing and inconsistent for a character. That's just two examples, and I don't want to turn this into a hating on Naruto video, because that's not true. I fucking love Naruto. I think it's a fantastic shonen and in its own right. I'm just saying where it falls short in ways Dragon Ball doesn't. It gives you style over substance in a lot of cases. So now that we've covered, character archetypes and we've covered development, there's really one other area I really want to be a stickler about. And again, I want to state I'm focusing on the Western release of Dragon Ball in the 90s because I want to talk about the music. It was a simpler time. A time where you couldn't just sit in your car and text here for the hot girl to come on a date with you. Honestly, we're all anime fans. We don't. Yeah, we probably didn't have hot girls going on dates with us. Anyway, there was a time when there was only 151 Pokemon, but really that didn't matter because Digimon was better. Yeah, there was a time Digimon was better. But most importantly, it was a time when traditional anime background music was replaced with American music. And despite what these zebra-striped skinny jean wearing vegan diet elfin lead is the deepest anime of all time, hipster ass otakus say American soundtracks were sometimes really kick-ass, arguably better. So music is a big part of any visual medium. From anime to movies to video games, well done background music just adds another dimension to the world that you're already being lost in. And while I do love the soundtrack to the Japanese release of Dragon Ball Z, there is no doubt that the Bruce Falconer tracks are just more fitting. If you saw Goku go Super Saiyan 3 for the first time back in the day, your YouTube playlist is probably filled with remixes, covers, and 30-minute loops that you listen to while cleaning. Okay, or that's just me. Point is, the music really hit the nail on the head with Legend of Zelda levels of befitting the moment. While the original Japanese version is, whimsical and adventurous in a way that is akin to the predecessor, just Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z's hard shift to pure action with only limited comedy was really accentuated by the hard driving guitars and synth noises provided by the American production company. And they just did a better job at conveying emotions in any given scene.
Look, this is already turning into a pretty long video, and even though I could keep ranting about why you should watch Dragon Ball Z and why it's deeper than you think, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. I'll be doing more videos, of this nature, both anime and non-anime related. Really anything that you can have a nerdy opinion about. So feel free to please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean the world to me. And also, if you're into improv comedy or video games, then my roommate also puts on a drunk gaming channel on Twitch, DrinkyGames2113. By all means, please check that out. Link will be in the description below. Streaming every Saturday at 8 p.m. It's absolutely hilarious, and he deserves just as much support as you're giving me. And, hey, nerd is the word.